Hello again, everyone. So in the last one we set up our firing a little bit better and gave our weapons a little bit, oh, that looked painful. Gave our weapons some force impact and kick to them. And that works, it looked like he actually grabbed his face. That works for most of our weapons, but what if we're firing a grenade launcher? We don't want it to work the exact same way. We want to actually spawn a grenade and send it flying. So let's go into our weapon data and we'll actually create a grenade to spawn. So we'll right click and create a blueprint class of an actor and call it BP underscore grenade. Now you could do a base grenade type if you want your grenade to have different, or grenade launcher to have different grenades it uses. I'm just going to do one. So in here we need a static mesh to represent our grenade. So I'll just type in grenade, and it's this launcher B ammo. Get out of here, we don't need you. Then we will also need a sphere collision to represent its interaction. You know, if it hits something, this will be what registers that. So the sphere radius we'll set to 8, just to get it real tight around the grenade. Then we're going to add a projectile movement component. This will let it actually go flying through the air. Now for the projectile initial speed and max speed, I'm going to set it, we'll say 2000. Now on the static mesh, we do want it to have no collision, because as soon as it interacts with something, it'll blow up. We don't need to worry about it actually bouncing on the ground. But if this has collision, this will register as overlapping something. So we'll go to the sphere, and then scrolling down into the events, we can get on component begin overlap. We'll just get rid of all this up here. Now when the sphere overlaps something, we want to see if it has tag, because we're going to add a tag to our player to make sure it doesn't register it. So we'll throw in player right here, add a branch, B left click for a branch. I don't know if I still need tail, I just like to announce it in case we got new people, I don't know. So if it does not have the tag, we are going to want to add a do once node because we want it to just explode one time. We're going to spawn emitter at location. We will get the actor location, because this is where we want to spawn it, the actor being the grenade itself. And then we'll get our grenade explosion. We'll play sound at location. And I think we have a grenade launcher explosion cue right here. That'll work. I'm going to set mine to really low just so I don't blow y'all's ears out. We can plug our location into that also. Then we want to take our sphere collision and we're going to make it basically boom and grow so that it can overlap a bunch of enemies and then be able to register damage in them. So we're going to set its radius, set sphere radius. I don't know why it pulls the second one sometimes. I'm going to set this to 500 for now, and this will be our damage radius. And you'll see right here it says update overlaps, which it will, once it grows, it'll recalculate its overlaps and we can actually use that information. So we will get overlapping actors, and then for each of them, with this for each loop, we can apply damage. I'm going to set this to like 50 for now and then promote that to a variable of grenade damage. But we need a way of actually applying force and sending our enemies flying. So we're going to use a blueprint interface for that. We'll go into our characters folder for this, because it's something that interacts with our characters, I guess. Under blueprint interface, BPI for blueprint interface, enemy. And in here, we're just going to set it to be launch enemy. And for the input, we need a, let's see, launch direction, which will be a vector, and then a launch force, which will be a float. So now after it applies damage to our enemies, we'll do a delay until next tick, because when the character registers damage, they may need a second just to register and like, okay, this character is now dead, set them into ragdoll, and then this will give that time to go ahead and do that. So we will send our launch enemy message across, and we can get this by getting our actor location of the grenade and get actor location of the enemy we hit. So we want to calculate where the grenade's at, where the enemy's at, and the direction between them. We can do that by doing a unit direction, get unit direction, and then we'll plug that in here. And then the launch force, I'm going to set it to be like 15,000 for now. And we'll promote that to a variable called grenade force or impact force or whatever you want to call it. So now we can go to our enemy and we'll add that interface. We'll just type enemy and look for it. And on our event launch enemy, we're doing a delay on the other side, so we don't need that, but we'll grab our mesh and we'll check to see if it is simulating physics. Because if it's not, we don't want to try to add force. We'll add a branch, and if it is simulating physics, then we want to add impulse to the mesh, and we'll take our launch direction and multiply it by our force. We could have done this on the other side, I suppose, but we'll click this velocity change right here. Now we need to actually set up our player's ability to fire the grenade. So in our player blueprint, in our shooting function, we'll grab all this and move it down the line a little bit, because if we're shooting our regular guns, fire trace and all this works fine. If our weapon is a grenade launcher, then we'll do something different. So we'll grab our weapon reference, because we're going to need to get our weapon info. We'll break that open so we can get the weapon ID and see if it is equal to our grenade launcher. We'll add a branch right here on this execution pin. And if it's not a grenade launcher, we want to do our regular fire trace. So we'll just hook that right here. If it is a grenade launcher, we want to spawn actor from class, and this is where we'll spawn our grenade. Now, if you've set it up to be different grenade launchers have different grenades, then you can pull from your weapon info or your weapon reference to get the kind of grenade, etc. But I'm just going to plug in grenade. Now for the spawn transform, we'll grab our weapon reference and get our fire from, so where we're doing our line traces from, and we'll get the world transform, and we'll plug that into our spawn transform. And then over on this side, let's see, we can plug this down to here, which kind of makes it look ugly, but we'll just drop it down like this. We'll do this. I don't want it too spaghetti-like. Not that I'm a pasta hater, but you know, we want to try to avoid that where we can. We'll come back and clean it up later. We just want to make sure that this works for now. So we'll let's see. Oh, our character needs his grenade launcher, so we'll add the grenade launcher to him. And then, oh, one more thing we need to do. Stop. We need to add that tag. So with the player self selected in the player blueprint under advanced actor, we can add that player actor tag. So we'll compile that. And now, see, it sent him flying. Didn't send him flying, but it's because he was already. It hit him, and it didn't know where to send him. So, we also need to set this to the floor to generate overlap events. Let's try this again. Oh, that worked. Now you might notice, even though he's way over there, it's still sending him flying. Does it hit the wall? No, I don't hit the walls. Let's just highlight all our walls and floors real quick. So selecting one and then going through shift click to the bottom one, generate overlap events, and then we should be able to, no matter what we shoot. Whew. There we go. But we want to check to see if the enemy is dead before we apply damage. So in our enemy blueprint, we'll go ahead and add a function, check is dead. From the outputs, we'll add a boolean, b is dead. Change that from float to boolean. And then in our test enemy, you'll see we have this grayed out one. We can double click and open that up. We'll add a variable here, be dead. We'll plug that in so that what we can do is in our grenade, we'll check to see if the enemy is dead, and if they are, then we don't apply the force. But if they're not, then we want to go ahead. So on any damage, set collision response. Then we want to set that dead is true. Then in our grenade, we'll check to see check is dead message. We'll set this after our tick just to make sure that all that gets a chance to fire. No. We want to do this at the beginning. Alright, we'll check to see if theirs dead. If not, then we launch enemy. This should work. So now they're not being launched. But there was a little bit of an issue. What was that? Set simulate physics, launch enemy. Maybe we'll do it down here. So right here, the first time they're launched, we'll go ahead and say that, yeah, they're dead. So let's try that one more time. They get launched. He's still getting launched, but now he's not. But you are. Maybe it's in the grenade. If they are dead, false, launch enemy. Check. Let's see, test enemy. Check is dead. Is dead. Should be returning is dead. Well, we'll refine it later on either way. So right now, at least it's working. You would expect explosions to continue knocking around bodies anyway, but we'll go through and we'll set the collision test of the grenade to make sure it's more reliable, like it's checking for objects specifically. So, or we can add another actor and say, is it dead? If it's not, then don't do anything, or just don't register. So yeah, but for that, we're good with this for now. So we'll start setting up some other stuff in the next one. I'll see y'all there. Bye.